I wanted to get Justin's push-ups as his cold open, but
if we didn't get the chest.
I'm back on my grind, man. In the gym every morning, stair stepper, 20 minutes, squats, push-ups, dips, pull-ups.
You're squatting every day?
No.
You're just trying to be a shredded dad, and like now you're getting rid of the dad bod. Now you're going to be a dad.
Yeah, I
Nice.
gotta have energy to play with my kids and stuff, I guess.
The ultra motivation, amazing.
It does change your perspective on longevity a little bit. Like I find myself being less selfish and gluttonous now that I have to. How am I going to be able to hang out and watch these kids grow up?
Crazy.
We're here to talk about AI. I know there's a lot of different opinions about it. Some of you may be completely oblivious or ignoring it. Some of you may be concerned about it. Some of you may be super pumped. I think probably all of us oscillate day to day, between those. But generally speaking, I think we're really enthused about it and want to share our thoughts, especially as it relates to tech and its impact to catering. OpenAI released ChatGPT in November 2022. And since then, it has been an absolute crazy journey for the world of AI. I think they are somewhere around like 1 billion or so monthly active users there.
Fastest growing product of all time.
Fastest growing product of all time. Just absolutely bonkers. And that has been, I think, the impetus for so many people to know about what these LLMs can do. These chat applications can do.
They grew faster than Flashquotes?
Just a little bit.
The data is unclear.
Okay. Oh.
We need to recrunch the numbers on that.
Okay. Just checking.
But since then, there's been a whole bunch of other businesses, some of your big ones like Google. There's been Anthropic with Claude, all these different models coming out, some of them really good at certain things like writing or software development. And then recently we've been seeing these reasoning models come out, which basically can string together a whole bunch of input, its own output, kind of go back and mirror a little bit about how human thinks and solves problems and kind of going away and knocking things out. We could talk a little bit more about kind of what those do and how they work, but wanted to have an opportunity to chat here. In the context
and you may be asking, like, I don't really care. Like, why do I care about this on a catering context, right? Isn't that, in the world of bits and bytes, and how does AI affect my business? But we've found that there's some really interesting use cases from talking to Flashquotes users, from seeing what Justin's doing at Goodhart Coffee. You can absolutely harness AI to grow your business faster, become more efficient. And, the best thing to do is not to ignore it, but to harness the power for your benefit, right? So we just want to get on here and chat about some different ideas that you might want to apply and share some examples of stuff we've seen. That's really cool.
Yeah. We started to do a little bit of AI stuff, mainly just kind of filtering some of our automation channels. But it wasn't until we really discovered custom AI chatbots that it really started transforming Goodhart. If you don't know who we are, we're all the co-founders of Flashquotes. I'm also the owner of Goodhart Coffee. We did 3,000 events in 2024. I think we're on track for an additional 40 to 60% growth in 2025. We've got 44 coffee carts, 5 cities, probably 80 baristas. And so we've learned a lot about how to kind of improve our systems. And it wasn't until just a couple months ago, actually, where I discovered these custom AI chatbots, right? Like, of course, probably all of you have been, using whatever, ChatGPT, Claude, a few different ones out there. But for me, it all clicked and I wouldn't stop talking about it to my wife. She got really sick of my AI chatbot convos when I found these custom chatbots. So what these custom chatbots can do is, you can train them on all your own data. So it's like training an expert who knows everything about your business. You can ask it anything and it can spit out basically the answer that you would probably want to give to your staff as the business owner who knows every system inside and out. And when I realized that was possible, like just the light bulbs, like the hair on the back of my neck was standing up, the light bulb was going off. I'm like, this is crazy powerful. I need a customer-facing AI chatbot, a barista-facing one, an operations one. Like the possibilities there were really endless. So what we did at Goodhart was I pulled all of my customer data for my customer service chatbot, my customer facing one. I pulled like 8 months worth of calls, texts, and emails from my CRM. I trained the custom AI chatbot on all of that information and on my entire website, by the way. So it knows every single line of text, every word on my entire website. So if a customer goes and asks it something, boom, it knows the exact answer that our trained expert event planners and salespeople would give them. And it's really, really mind-blowing to see. That's kind of on the sales side. Maybe we dive into that one a little bit more, but there's also, we have this kind of internal one for troubleshooting barista day of logistic, like barista support, custom AI chatbot trained on months of our internal Slack communications. And then we have our, equipment troubleshooting one trained on all of the equipment documentation, user manuals. Like I've filmed tons of repair videos. I pulled those transcripts, trained those chatbots on the transcript from training videos. Like it became extremely powerful. And as a business owner, it really actually reduced the number of questions that I'm fielding every day from my operations and admin team, because all of my best knowledge is in those chatbots trained on all our best data. And I've even seen my team ask the chatbot questions and it gives them this answer. I'm like, whoa, like, yeah, I forgot that is how we do that, like thoroughly. Like it actually has become better than me now because it remembers all the best practices going back months. So yeah, it got really wild. I use a tool called Chatbase to do all this. So I'll pause there and we can dig in a little more to one of these sections.
Well, tools is one of my questions, right? Which tool do you use? I use Chatbase. Did you find any others? Was you were searching? What made you go for Chatbase?
Oh, there's a few. I think just the ease of building it, like it's so easy. You sign up, you start your chatbot, you drag in your PDF to train it, you input your website URL and hit train. And that's
show an example.
Yeah, can I screen share? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be helpful to see just how easy, because when you say like, oh, I trained a model to answer questions, like that sounds really hard and scary, but I think if people can see how simple it is, it's actually not that.
It's really, really easy.
I think you might even say like getting the data and finding the right data was more time consuming than actually sort of training it, right?
Yeah. So, if you would probably want to, I hope, if you don't already have an internal team communications tool, I would recommend you start it, because those conversations become data to train your AI chatbots on to reduce your workload as a business owner later on. If you have emails, if you have text messages, or if you have training videos, you can grab all those transcripts. But it's really, really easy. So we have a few different ones here. You click new chatbot. You drag in a data source, like a PDF right here. Actually, I'm going to put the Goodhart Coffee website. So I just go to website here. I put in the Goodhart Coffee website. It fetches all the links from my website. And once it does that, I just hit create chatbot. And it, like within a minute or two, this chatbot is trained on everything that's on the Goodhart Coffee website. It's all right here. I'm going to create it right now. So this is, you've extracted all the data. You've trained your chatbot. The other really, really important piece is to go to settings and prompt it in the way that you want. So if you go to the AI here, this setting up the role and constraints of the chatbot is really important for you to get the behavior that you want. So for example, let me go to our internal barista facing chatbot, and I'll show you the prompts that we use here. So, this is the instructions for our barista chatbot. It says you're an AI chatbot who helps baristas, help them with anything related to weather, GPS, navigation, parking, loading, traffic. You really want to be specific on that stuff. A lot of the default settings for these AI chatbots are like, don't divulge any training data, which you do want if that's a customer facing one. But if it's an internal facing chatbot, I recommend you say, this is an internal tool. Share as much data as you need to get, the outcome. So you can see here, I tell it, share all training links, docs, websites, videos. I tell it to do everything it needs to do from any source to accomplish this goal when it's an internal tool.
This is so
And
cool.
so-
I think we should talk a little bit about prompting. I just wanted to ask, like, is that chatbot that you made live, is that like working now? Like, could you show us an example? Of like,
You just go to the playground.
literally in 2 minutes, you made a custom chatbot that knows everything about your business, at least what's on the website. And so maybe ask it a question.
So let's see. What items are stored in the purple, or actually in the yellow transport box? Let's say the barista is packing up and they're new and they can't remember what items we store, and they don't want to put things in a disorganized way. So we like, what items go in this specific transport box? It can spit them all out right here. What do I do if the grinder isn't working? So it's going through troubleshooting here, and we have 2 grinder models. So I told it, like, always ask which grinder model, the Eureka Atom and Film Luna. And then once they let's say, okay, it's the Anfim. Let's say it's the Anfim. Oops, I spelled it wrong, but it'll probably know that and fix it anyway. So it's going through some troubleshooting steps. This is...
So for people maybe listening instead of on video, it's answering like, for the Amfram grinder, it's not grinding and display doesn't light up. Here's a step-by-step checklist to check if it's plugged in, verify the bean container. Right, so it's giving you very detailed instructions specific to your equipment.
Yeah. And these are trained on both like the user manual and just our internal experience with this machine. And so literally, this is exactly what I would want my baristas to do. It saves them a phone call. They don't have to go back and forth. And then, like, let me show you, for example, we've got this operations chatbot. This is for my operations team. Like, where do I buy a replacement shot glass? So I ask, my operations team, it's trained on different data for my operations managers than my baristas. But where do I buy a replacement shot glass? It's going to spit out all of the, we basically trained it on a spreadsheet of every item, where it's purchased, the price. And so I asked it where I buy a replacement shot glass. It spits out the price, the Amazon link, and then it kind of tells me more. There's been several instances of cracked shot glasses. It's recommend, they can still be used, replace them promptly. So then it's so powerful. And we also have that customer service one, and they're really easy to train.
That's so cool. So the customer service one, obviously, I think Chatbase gives you a snippet that you can just paste some code in your website and it just works, right? Where is your staff interacting with this? Where do you put the internal facing?
We have the internal ones just, basically on private pages that they only access. But what I will say for my event planners is that they use the public facing one to answer questions themselves, like weird questions that maybe they don't get very often and they kind of forget, like, okay, we need a generator. Like, what are the generator specs? They ask it to the customer-facing chatbot, and so they can get the answers they need. And like, I see one of my event planners constantly asking about the power specs of our equipment because they can't remember off the top of their head, but our chatbot will just spit them all out there.
What's been the feedback from your team that are using this? Are they excited about it, helpful? Do they find it annoying?
A little bit of slow adoption at first. And then when they start to see the power of it, they start using it a lot more. I'm seeing this slow trend of really everyone using it more. I get more customers daily interacting with it. My baristas are starting to use it frequently. My operations folks, like, it started a little slow, but now that people see how powerful it is. And what's cool too about Chatbase is you can integrate it in your Slack. So our operations people, they don't even have to go anywhere. They just say @Chatbase in their Slack channel and put their question in, and Chatbase just spits it out right in Slack. So like, the interface is so easy.
So in the case of, like, for people that don't know much about what's been going on in AI, right? LLM is a large language model and essentially will take your questions and determine like what's the next best word and string together these tokens to provide a really amazingly accurate answer in a lot of these cases. So what you're doing is with Chatbase is instead of a model that's trained on the internet or a whole host of information like a ChatGPT, you're training and giving source material that is proprietary to you and relevant to your business.
Yeah. It's like having this genius that knows. It's almost freaky at first. Like, I'm like, how does this thing know so much about me? Like, this is a better answer than I would have gave to that question.
Yeah.
Like, it's so cool, but it's uncanny. You're like, how does someone else know this? They know too much, but it's so powerful and it takes so much work off of my shoulders. Because now instead of fielding 20 questions a day from my team, so many of those, they've been answered before, right? And instead of making my operations person go try to manually look through a bunch of Google documents or some training manual or documentation, it's like having all your standard operating procedures, your SOPs, any documentation you've ever created about your business instantly searchable, and then they instantly present you the right answer. It's an absolute no-brainer.
It makes me think back to our last episode talking about like levels of growth for a catering business. And, you know, if you're stuck maybe in level 2 or 3 and your bottleneck is kind of scaling, or you feel like you're the only person who knows how to do everything, you feel like everyone has to come to you to get their answers, you feel like you're the bottleneck because you're constantly having to show, you know, I remember even when you were in this case, right, where we'd just be hanging out getting coffee, and like every few minutes your phone would ring, and you'd be like, there's a barista in San Francisco, and their grinder's broken. I got to tell them how to fix it. And then you'd run off and go talk to them for 5 seconds, and you'd come right back, and someone else would be like, I can't find the yellow box. So, you know, it's just having an always on employee that never sleeps and knows every answer perfectly and is always available can free up the owner to work on more strategic and high leverage stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I want to
clone yourself. Clone knowledge. Yeah,
exactly. And one thing I want to say too about when I started realizing this and training these AI chatbots just for Goodhart Coffee, it made me realize like, whoa, like I need to be documenting everything, because everything now becomes training data. Everything about my company, every communication we have, I want other people to know it and be able to easily get the answer. And one thing that we've really realized, and actually even with us, right, like as we record podcasts, what we do now and how we create our documentation for Flashquotes actually all starts with video. And there's I think starting all of your documentation and standard operating procedures with video is maybe the easiest and best way to do it. And here's why. So let me give an example, actually. We are launching drip coffee, bulk drip coffee, tea, all that stuff. Again, we used to do it years ago at Goodhart, didn't have the equipment. We wanted to relaunch it. So we got this huge bulk coffee brewer. It can brew 24 gallons an hour. And now I have to train my team on this and you know, make sure all my baristas are up to speed and know what to do. So I go in, I spend 20 minutes recording training videos about how my team should use this coffee brewer. After I take those videos, I upload them to Loom, which is just a video service. Loom automatically generates all the transcripts. I take the transcripts, have AI create like an entire step-by-step training manual. And so now I have video training, I have a text like step-by-step document guide, and then I take that text step-by-step document and train my chatbot on it. And so if you just start all of your training stuff with video, you can get all the text and all the material and all the structure to create the documentation for your AI chatbots. And that's actually kind of what we've done too in building out the documentation for Flashquotes. I recorded tons of training videos. We took the transcripts. Daniel kind of built out the help center, and then our chatbots, our Flashquotes internal training and help chatbots are based on what started with me recording a video. So it's just a really quick, easy way to get that documentation and build it really quick and easy.
That's great, man. I love it. So I feel like thematically, we've almost kind of landed on operations AI, like how do you use AI in your operations? And that's kind of what we've been talking about here. Another use case that we've chatted about a bit is AI in sales and understanding your customers, understanding what their questions might be before they ever even fill out your lead intake form, what their questions and pain points are along the way. Can you talk about, how you've been thinking about AI in sales?
Yes. Yeah. So of course in sales is still so much about relationships, but by knowing and anticipating what customers are going to ask, like AI can help us make sure that our real people who are really talking with them and connecting with them can be equipped and can have the answers to all their questions. So this is some really, I think, really, really cool data. So at Goodhart Coffee, we took that same data set of like that we use to train our customer service or customer support AI chatbot. And again, it's like, I think 8 months of customer calls, texts, and emails. And if it was 8 months, that's probably, we generate around 1,000 to 1,200 leads across company-wide each month. So that's probably 8 to 10,000 customer interactions. Not just interactions, the full interaction history of 8 to 10,000 customers. Here's what we found at Goodhart. This is really valuable kind of proprietary data that I'm sharing, but I think it will really help you all out to understand what questions are people asking. What should you actually be answering in your frequently asked questions? And it also can kind of give you a guide on maybe how you should structure some things on your website. So I asked my AI chatbot, what are the top 15 questions that customers ask us when they're interacting with us? And so we've got the answer to that. It spit out this incredible answer, which some of it really surprised me. So first is, not unexpectedly, pricing. What is your price? How much does this cost? It's by far the most common question. 80% of people ask that. This is why, by the way, we tell everyone you need to have a pricing tab on your website. I don't believe in showing price before you get contact information from the people, but you have to at least talk about it because it's the elephant in the room, and you need to just tell people, hey, we price by guest count, service length, and travel distance. You just got to say that, and you got to have a pricing tab because more than 80% of people, it's the most commonly asked question for coffee caterers.
Do you recommend people giving a possible range, or even that is tipping your hand before you get the lead?
Could be. I'm not opposed to that because it can filter out, it can help qualify your leads. You might say starting at $595 or $590, right? You could qualify and just like let people know that like, okay, if you don't have at least $500, like you're not in the right place. So if you were going to do something like that, I would do just like starting at whatever your absolute lowest price is, if you want it.
Might be no downside there, right? I mean, you're essentially self-selecting for the right leads or filtering out preemptively people that aren't going to have even the minimum budget that you require.
Yeah, that's true. And that can be good. The one caveat to me is that they may not understand the full value of the service yet. And so if they see the price without understanding the value of the service, then they could be turned away too soon, because a lot of times when people understand the full value of the entire, like we've had experiences where we show up with our full.
I thought you were just going to deliver Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly. Wait, I paid this is a whole barista, and now that's rare that people have no idea, but it's happened, and they thought they were just getting like some self-serve Cambros, and so like that's the one downside is you probably should collect their info so that you can make sure you convey the value, and then when they understand the value, for a private barista and salted caramel oat milk lattes, well, yeah, maybe I will pay $500 for that.
I do wonder though, like there's something in pricing philosophy about like price conveys the value, right? So if you, or like if you're a more upscale or larger ticket caterer, and you say minimum price starting at 1,000, sometimes that makes people, there's like a psychological impact of that where they want it more. They're more it almost conveys that it's a premium experience, right? So
yeah,
I've definitely heard people want things more when they're expensive because they're expensive in some cases.
Yeah, for certain clients, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Yeah. So any other questions, or should we move on to the second most common customer question that people ask?
Yeah, what else did you? Let's go on.
So second one, are you available? That's by far 70% of people want to ask that. And what's cool is that with Flashquotes, we show that real-time availability on our lead intake form. We're currently kind of piloting showing it real-time on our lead intake form. Eventually, our lead intake form will have it right now. as it stands, all of our booking forms and price quote forms kind of display if you're overbooked. So we do have that real-time availability, but to make it customer facing, that's one of the first things people want to know, because a lot of times, just not sure. It's one of the first questions people want to ask is, okay, I am interested, but are you even available on my date? One very important thing regarding availability and date is, let's say you're not available. What should you say if you're not available? What's the first, maybe just Zach or Daniel, maybe you all know, if you weren't available, what should you say potentially to a coffee catering customer?
Is this like a live quiz? I mean, it depends how much I want to hustle, I guess. I would probably act like I'm available and then call you and be like, Justin, I need a cart. Like, let's go.
I love it. That's the right spirit. You passed.
Yeah, thank you.
So I've had this experience before where I inquired, I was doing kind of secret shopping, some coffee caterers, and I inquired on this date. They just emailed me back, sorry, we're not available on that date.
Well, they didn't offer anything.
They didn't offer. The first question you ask someone when you're fully booked is, do you have any flexibility so that I can serve you on another day? Sometimes yes, sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes no. But if you're not asking that, please ask that if you're fully booked. That's the first question you should ask them if you are fully booked. So that's on availability. People ask, are you available, as the second most common question. 70% of our customers ask that.
So where are they asking that, Justin? Like, are they emailing you? This data is from emails before they ever filled out the lead intake form?
That's a good question. I don't actually, I'm assuming it's one of the early communications, like they submit a lead intake form, they get their price quote, and probably in that early interactions there, like in catering, it's so uncommon for people to have real-time availability. So it's something that for most on-site services, people have to ask, because up until Flashquotes, there's not real-time there was never real-time availability for catering. That's like not a thing that has existed. It's just customers looking out for their own self-interest, because the industry does not expect caterers to have a real-time availability system. Next question. What's on your menu? This kind of ties into, and if you've listened to other podcasts or any other content we've produced, I recommend to all caterers to have a menu, a gallery, and a pricing header navigation tab, right? And so from these three questions, we've already covered two of those. Pricing, you need the pricing header navigation, and menu, you need the menu on your header navigation as well. This kind of goes into conveying value, right? When they see that it's like, lattes, cappuccinos, Americanos, you have alternative milks and syrups, like sharing your menu is in addition to photos and gallery, is one of the quickest ways you can start to convey the value of what you're actually will be providing. Even though hopefully you have it on your website, if you don't have a menu on your header navigation of your website and you're a coffee caterer, please go at it, pause, and please go at it now. It's really important. It's the third most common question. 65% of Goodhart customers asked it. And that's even when we have it on our menu, right? We have that header navigation menu. It's right there. It's in everyone's faces. But so many people are busy and distracted. That's why we follow up a lot. They didn't read our menu. And so they're asking it in like this organic communication.
And if you don't have space on your menu, another tidbit of Justin's that I love is take off the Instagram and social media logos up top that are taking people away from your site and putting them into what we know is like the most distracting place on the universe, right? Yeah. Don't be crazy and give away a perfectly good lead to Meta. Just stop it. Just stop.
You're not going to get them back like anytime soon. These billion-dollar companies, their entire purpose is to figure out how to keep people on their site. Don't let them leave your site. Thank you, Daniel. Put your socials at the bottom of your website in the footer. Don't put them at the top. Social media followers are for vanity. Website visitors and form submissions are for sanity. Keep them on your site. Next question. What's included in your service? 60% of people ask us. So even though they've maybe seen the menu, they've seen photos, they still don't really know. So we've kind of recently in the last couple of months have been sending it a lot. And actually it's one of our most important follow-up questions in the many follow-ups we do. We always like to prompt a really good question at the end of the follow-up to encourage engagement. And one of the questions that we actually prompt them with, because we know they're going to ask us, is we ask them, do you know everything that's included in the service? And so that's where we share like, yeah, it's a full cart. We bring, the price includes setup, breakdown, full espresso menu, barista, condiments, syrups, freshly roasted coffee. That's just, a lot of people didn't know the full scope of it. Maybe they've seen your photos. Okay, the cart looks cool, the menu looks great, but they don't actually know the staff's included, setup, breakdown, travel, all that stuff. So what's actually included for the price, 60% of our customers have asked that. That's question number 4.
Where can you put that on your site? Like in the pricing section, it feels like it'd be natural. Like this is how we price and this is what you're getting.
Yeah, it's a good question. It is tough. Sometimes, every single header navigation tab really has to fight for its life, because you really should not have more than 5 to 7 is really that sweet spot. You don't want too many. And so I've struggled with that. Sometimes I've put up what's included in my header navigation. I don't think I have it up there right now, because those header navigation things have to fight for their life. Those are critical. They're the most important part of your website. Well, second to, above the fold stuff. So yeah, you could experiment and you could collect data on click tracking, scroll tracking, and to determine, does it warrant a space there? I think I decided that, at least for us, it didn't warrant a space there. Not enough people were clicking on the what's included for us.
Nice. Well, maybe you take us to number 5 on the list, and then this is a list of 15. So if you want the rest, join Flashquotes, join the school community that is exclusive to Flashquotes customers, and you can get the rest of the list.
Yep. So number 5 is service area. Pretty much most folks these days know to put service area on their website, on the header page, right when people land on your website. But even still, a lot of folks, maybe they're just a little bit outside. They don't really know your travel radius, and so they want to know. And what's cool is in Flashquotes, we do this automatically. You set your service radius, and in real time, if your customers are filling out the form and they put in their service address, it will give a yellow warning if it's outside of your default service area. So what we do, we set ours kind of far. I think it's like 150 miles, because to us, that's really when we want to flag people that okay, we're going to be charging for hotels and per diem and, setup days and things like that if they're outside. So we set our threshold to about 150 miles or around a 3-hour one-way drive. But saying that, you're in the service area or not is really critical. So that's number 5. Number 6 through 15 are for Flashquotes folks only. Please sign up. The software is awesome. If you're a coffee caterer, you're going to love it.
Yeah. And I'll give a little plug for the school community, because I don't think we've mentioned that, at least in this format before. But as Flashquotes has grown, we've started to get in touch with a lot of really cool people in the catering business, whether they're coffee caterers, bar caterers, who are growing and have a lot of questions and a lot of interest in understanding what other people are doing, what are the best practices. They have questions about, how to grow their operations, how to get better at sales. Justin has a lot of experience there. We've been able to kind of give feedback here and there, but we've realized that a lot of these people could really benefit from learning from each other, and just it's really cool to be able to connect them in a community where they can talk to other people who've walked the path or mentor other people who are just getting started in the business. It's kind of a tight-knit group, it seems like, in mobile catering. So we started a community on the platform called School, SKOOL. It's called Mobile Catering Accelerator. And it's just a place for all the caterers who are using Flashquotes to kind of compare notes with each other, meet each other, introduce themselves, and kind of see wins and success stories from other people in the community. So we just started it last week. It's free, so check it out, and we'll see you in there.
Yeah, heck yeah, it's been popping.
So AI in sales, you talked about kind of distilling information and data to understand what your customers want and preemptively try and get to those answers. What about actually communicating with your customers or your leads once they've tried to request a quote or booked? I know that email and writing, some of these models, Claude, Sonnet, some of the newer OpenAI models are really wonderful at either writing things from scratch, or because I'm stubborn, I still try and write the first pass myself because I think I'm smarter than it, and then I get it edited, or I give it to Zach and then he edits it with AI. So that feels really good. But are you using that at all in customer communications or messaging yet?
Well, yes, a bit. What I like is how it's really saved me time is when my event planners come to me with a challenging customer situation. Instead of me needing to do a bunch of the heavy lifting on the draft, I just give the bullet points. Like I just say, okay, like Yasmin, she's like our top event planner. She just closed like a massive 1-year contract with Google, 5 service days a week for the entire year. I gave her an award for that. It was the best, our best contract ever. It was super cool. But what I do, Yasmin comes to me with a challenging situation. The barista messed up, something happened. The client's upset. I just say, Yasmin, like, here's the bullet points. Here's my thoughts. Like, put this into ChatGPT and make it sound nice, but these are the bullet points. So it saves me time of having to really finesse. That's one thing. So in my personal opinion is ChatGPT and Claude and AI writing is great at making things sound professional. Occasionally it will lobotomize your main kind of point. And so you have to be a little bit aware of that. Sometimes in our sales stuff, like it does when I'm trying to do cold outreach and I have specific things that I'm trying to say, if I put it through an AI tool, sometimes it'll lobotomize it, kill some of like what I intend as emotional impact. But for actual sensitive customer, especially for difficult customers, AI is incredible for business owners to just be able to tell their team, here's the bullet points of what I want to respond in this challenging situation. Put it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will be your basically HR kind of super tactful department. I still don't yet use it for like our workflows, for example. Our workflows that we enroll every new lead in, like I've tried to create, and I think an outline is good. So I've like created the outline of what the points should be for each follow-up, but you have to a little bit consider the training data of like these AI tools are trained on a mass generic content, a lot of them. So they kind of regress to this like sometimes can regress to an average response that maybe feels a little too generic or cookie cutter if you didn't train a custom AI. Now that might be the exception now, right? So if you train a Chatbase, a custom AI agent, well, you train it on these amazing high quality writing websites and you train it on your writing style so that it can really make sure that it's communicating in the way that feels authentic to your tone, that's a whole different thing. But if you just randomly plug it into a fresh chat with Claude, for me, a lot of times that doesn't quite hit the tone that I really want to.
Well, let's talk about prompting, because I think everything you're saying, what you're saying, a lot of people have experienced that. Like I asked Claude to write me an email and I didn't like the email. With AI especially, it's garbage in, garbage out. And the more precise you can get at prompt crafting as a skill, the better your results will be. So I want to share something with you guys because I saw this amazing tweet. This is from Dan Mack on Twitter. I don't know who you are. You've built something. This is an incredible example here, right? So this is how you prompt well. And this is targeted at reasoning models, but I think these rules apply for any type of chat, trying to prompt chat GPT or any of these models to write something for you. So it's got anatomy of a prompt. First section is the goal. So in this example, he's talking about what his goal is. He wants to get a list of hikes that he wants to go on. But I find that really helpful. Like in any prompt I'm writing, if I'm asking ChatGPT or one of these to write an email for me, first thing I type is goal : I want this person to sign up for Flashquotes. I want this angry customer of Goodhart Coffee I want a piece, an amicable resolution, and I want to make them feel heard and that we are going to solve their problem, right? So the first thing you need to do is tell the AI in 1 or 2 sentences, what is the goal of this email? What is the goal of this communication before you do anything else? Number 2, return format. This is very helpful if you want to say, this is what I want back. I want a list of hikes that I can go on in this area. I want an email that is written as if it's coming from me to this client. I want it to be, a lot of times I find that AI emails are really verbose and long. I think they're trained on just really wordy, jargony, corporate kind of speak. And so I almost always prompt it, give me a short, crisp email, as succinct as possible, casual tone, and can be easily skimmed by a busy executive or a person in a busy situation. That maybe I'll even cap it at max 5 sentences, right? If you give it those parameters, then it's going to give you a much better result typically, if that's how you write, which I would argue that's probably how you should be writing in business communication. Don't over fluff it. And then the next section here, warnings, if there's anything they need to avoid or any pitfalls it needs to not step in or anything you don't want it to say, give it that. And then -- for context, blah. And you can context dump anything. In your example, Justin, I would context dump the entire email communication chain with that client that was angry before. Text dumped 5 of my previous emails just so it can see how I talk. Like you can just, that could be unstructured, copy paste, just any sort of data that it will find useful. Another tip for this is using Claude projects or ChatGPT projects. So if you're frequently using this for business emails or whatever, then give a project persistent set of context. So upload a bunch of emails or a bunch of just sample documentation so it can always draw on that. But if you take it takes a little longer, right? It takes 2 minutes to write this prompt instead of 5 seconds, but your results are going to be much better if you go to this trouble.
Yeah. And I do want to say, like, Zach, I've probably seen Zach get more out of like AI, using AI to like prompts to help deal with really challenging or nuanced real world situations. Like, you like, even with Flashquotes, like to get a slightly, just zoomed in on our growth, like you've fed in crazy amounts of context. I mean, even with your consulting business, like, sensitive client interactions and challenges, like you've fed in crazy context. I've seen very few people up close and personal who have like prompted AI so well and gotten so much helpful output. Zach is probably one of the top that I've seen do this personally. And so listen to him. Like he's very, very right on this stuff. Garbage in, garbage out.
Thanks, man. The other tip I just thought of that's very helpful, depending on the situation, is that it seems silly, I think, but just tell the AI, you are a blank, right? I think you maybe even had that in one of your prompts for your chatbots, but you are a business consultant with a ton of strategic advice on dealing with difficult clients in service business situations, or you are an expert software engineer who knows everything about financial APIs, or you are, and just make the AI into the person you want them to be, right? You are Sam Altman and you're teaching me about how to use LLMs better, right? That sentence will totally transform the output that you get back. And so I would almost even add that to the list of things that we just talked about with goal, return format, context dump. What's your persona? What's your role? And what's your, as you're answering me?
That's really good. And is that because it really narrows kind of the surface area of all the information that's been fed into the LLM? So it just says, hey, this is the stuff that matters as I'm about to answer this question.
I suspect so. I mean, who knows what happens in the black box, right?
Yeah.
But there's a funny thing about LLMs where they behave in weirdly human ways because they're trained on human communication, right?
That's a good insight.
There's another kind of world which we haven't really gotten into, which is agents, right? And there's kind of this emerging trend of building AI agents to do things. And it turns out the best way to build agents is not to build one agent who can do everything, but it's to basically build like an org chart, a team where you have a director agent who delegates tasks to a manager agent who delegates tasks to a individual contributor agent that knows how to do email, that knows how to do Slack, that knows how to write Jira tickets. And that architecture, which very much resembles like a human org chart, is actually the best way to get results out of these AI.
Yeah, I found that too. That's why I had to build different chatbots for each function. I couldn't just build one super chatbot that knew how to do everything. Again, I don't understand why. But when I just trained it on the narrow set of data, that's why I have my agents, right? The customer support agent, my operations manager agent, barista agent. It's weird and uncanny, but that is definitely the best way.
AIs respond well to guardrails, and constraints, right? They're going to give you a much better task if you can set up the boundaries for them.
And going to that framework you just talked about, Zach, and you mentioned Claude or ChatGPT's projects where you can load context like files and whatnot. You can also just put in a predefined text input that's always going to be used whenever it answers the question, right? So you could put in there, your persona is a business consultant and you're going to be providing, the goal is to generate a very snappy email that is to the point and brief and going to be easily digested by somebody who's busy, right? So you can put that in there along with other past emails or whatever to help train that project.
Yeah, absolutely. You could even, if you have another thing that's great at is like mimicking someone's voice. So, there's certain people that I think are really great writers on the internet that I'll say, hey, write this as if it was like a tweet from Greg Eisenberg, right? And it can actually do a remarkably good job at dissecting like why their writing is good or what makes it snappy or catchy or attention grabbing or whatever. That might be more of like a marketing copy use case, right? Where you say, hey, I have this landing page copy. It's kind of flat. Here's 5 websites that I think are really good, even if they're not in coffee, right? Just they have really grabbing marketing copy on their landing page. Give them apple.com, right? Give them whatever you think is good marketing and say, what makes this good and catchy? Can you rewrite my marketing copy in the voice of a marketer from Apple? And it does a job at distilling an example that's really good if you can give it that.
That's a great idea. I think that sort of resonates with some of the other content we've put out around SEO and optimizing different parts of your website to have really good copy and reference the right locations and right keywords. That could be a great way to start building that out.
Yeah.
Well, anything else, Justin, that's on your mind or from an AI perspective?
Talked about AI in marketing, AI in sales, AI in operations.
I think that's such a great starting point for sure.
Maybe last question is more just about the world with AI. I think there's something really neat about event-based businesses, live, personal, human interactions, and kind of selling that, offering that service in a world that is becoming increasingly impacted by AI. Maybe you can, I don't know, what do you think about that?
I think that humans using AI will hugely surpass humans who are not using AI to support them in their kind of goals and mission. And I think my philosophy is like, let's use AI to be more human. Like, let's use AI to automate things, to serve customers better, to be able to have more time to create real human connections and meet real human needs and help build real human relationships. I think that's kind of that's the perspective you got to have to be a productive member of society and not be, AI is wild and it's scary, but I think it can enable us, if used right, it's a powerful tool that can enable us to be more human, hopefully, and have better relationships and connect more.
Yeah, I would say my vision for the positive one for humanity is like now finally everyone can have like a perfect executive assistant, right? Especially as business owners, right? That like you shouldn't have be doing things that you don't want to do or that don't light you up anymore. And there's so much like busy work that can fill up your day as a business owner with just emails and scheduling stuff and answering people's questions, right? A lot of this, the tools that we've talked about today could make a lot of that very automated or take up less of your time so that you could spend more time doing what lights you up, doing the creative, fulfilling work that brings joy to your customers and your employees. So I would just challenge everyone, like think about the portions of your day that are rote tasks, and could those somehow be automated or augmented with an AI tool?
Yeah. Love it.
Nice.
Love it. Well, in the coming months, we'll be adding some, of course, powerful and awesome and enabling AI features to Flashquotes. So we've got some exciting stuff on the roadmap. So if you haven't already, well, if you're hearing this, then you, in theory, should already be a Flashquotes customer school member. If you haven't signed in a while, if you're a new caterer, get in there. It's got some awesome stuff for you. And if you need help or support, book a call with us. We've got an incredible documentation and help center. We want to see you succeed. We win when you win, and we're here to help. So let us know if any things come up, or if you have any feature requests or questions. And get out there. If you have some leads sitting in your inbox, go send out those price quotes. Let's get it.
Ship those leads.
All right. Cheers.